So what you guys just watched was my personal submission for the Motion Array Ad Challenge. Now, if you don't know what the Motion Array Ad Challenge is, it's a contest that we're running right now that's due on June 16th, where the goal is to create a less than 30-second ad for a product that doesn't actually exist. This isn't just for fun either. There's up to $5,000 in prizes able to be won, including an iPad, headphones, and subscriptions to Motion Array, ArtGrid, and Artlist. Now, even though I can't actually enter this video into the contest myself, I wanted to bring you guys along and show you what the process was like to make this video from start to finish for me. Maybe it'll give you some ideas of how to use Motion Array assets in order to incorporate them into your videos, or maybe it's just fun seeing the behind the scenes process of what this actually looks like. The challenge for me personally was that I only had one day to do this, and I actually never created a product video before. Throughout my entire career as a videographer, I did a lot of business videos, but they were always service-based businesses. I never actually created a video for a physical product, so I was definitely stepping outside of my comfort zone for this one. But the first thing that I learned is that if you don't know where to start with what you know. And I know that I have a crippling addiction to coffee, so I'm gonna be creating an ad around a coffee mug. Nice and simple, no labels to have to worry about removing in post. So let's go behind the scenes and take a look at what it actually looked like to make this. So for the basic setup here, it's actually really DIY and basic. All I have is just a IKEA curtain taped up to the back wall using some gaffer's tape. I've got one single softbox light that's gonna be doing most of the work for my shot. And if you wanna know the exact light that I'm using, it doesn't matter, because if you go to their website, boothphoto.com, they don't exist anymore. And the last thing is that I don't actually own a Lazy Susan or one of those electronic turntable things. So I'm gonna be opting for the best that I can do. I've just got literally a coffee table that can spin around 360.
Wow.
No fancy electronic motors, nothing like that, just me spinning a table. So the first shot we're gonna be doing is this simple edge light reveal. And to do that, I just killed all of the lights in my studio and took my phone flashlight and just started shining it around the edge, trying to get different angles and see what looked nice. Okay, so we're now at the point where we can start creating some of the elements that are actually gonna be floating around the screen on their own. And to do that, I'm gonna be filming them against a blue screen. Even though we're gonna be using some Motion Array assets to take away a lot of the heavy lifting, I still need to be able to isolate my product if I want it to move on its own. Now, in order to separate my cup from the table, I elevated it by placing it on top of an empty toilet paper roll, which made removing it inside of Premiere Pro super easy. All I had to do was throw in a LUT to go from Vlog to Rec 709, and then keying was literally just as easy as picking the color of the background and then setting the mode to aggressive. Then the last piece was just creating a mask around the general shape to get rid of any of the bad edges, and then to make sure that we didn't see any of the roll holding it up. Surprisingly, I didn't even need to keyframe the mask path at all, because even though you see it moving a lot, the general shape stays so similar. And I did the same process with this cup in a different orientation. But you don't have to use it just the way it was shot. We can actually change the rotation here to about 90 degrees in order to make it stand completely upright, making it look like it's rotating on a completely different axis. So now we're ready to start creating this splashing liquid into the cup effect. And what's nice is that most of the work is going to be done by these stock motion graphics. So I'm going to search through and find an animation that I like. And this one actually looks pretty nice just to have as something floating around in the background. And already, without really doing anything, our animation looks that much better. Next, I'm going to take this motion graphic where there's multiple droplets forming into a pool and place it over top of my cup effect. Then I'm just going to resize it so it looks like they're all actually making it into the rim. And then all there's left to do is just mask around the rim so that as soon as one of the droplets passes through what would be inside of the cup, you can't see it anymore. Then keyframe the mask position to follow the cup upwards, and we're gonna add in one last big splash animation at the very end. And this is the result of what we have so far. Not bad at all. But we can make it even better by adding a background and some kinetic typography in behind the cup as this is all going on. And I think I'm gonna use this section here in specific. Now, even though it's an After Effects template, all we have to do is actually open it up inside of After Effects, and I'm gonna show you how we can use it inside of Premiere. First, change it up however you'd like. Start by finding the actual section that you wanted to use for your project, and mine is right about here. Just keep a note of what the actual name of that composition is. For me, it's Slide 5. And then jump inside and tweak it around however you like. For me, I'm just gonna be changing the text, so I'm gonna double click on the text, and then change it up to say 3 flavors. Already it's changed so that our text says what we want. And then back in Premiere, all we have to do is take this After Effects file and drag and drop it into our project. Then search for that specific composition. For me, it was Slide 5. And drop it underneath all of our work so far. And now we've got an awesome new backdrop for our animation, but personally, I don't like the yellow color, so I'm gonna go back into After Effects and change that yellow to a nice purple. And then after seeing it, I really love the text, but I actually want a little bit more of a flat purple. So I'm just gonna take away these circles inside of the After Effects project. And that change is respected immediately in Premiere Pro, giving us our final result for this clip. I really like how this one turned out, so let's move on to the next one. Our opening shot here, which transitions up to the spinning cup. So right off the bat, there's a problem. My cup only spins around one time, so I'm just gonna duplicate that clip and put it back to back, and now I have 2 full rotations. Then I'll increase the speed of the first clip by a lot, and for the second clip, I'm gonna change it to time remapping speed, and then make it start at that same speed, and then ramp down to 100%, giving us the idea that our cup is spinning really quickly and then slows down to a stop. I'm just gonna nest this clip here so that it's easy to work with as a single unit. Then I'm gonna drop in our starting clip that we wanna transition out from. Right off the bat, these two look good in succession. They're starting in the same orientation, but we're gonna add a motion array basic roll transition to really emphasize the change from one to the other. So let's add the basic roll here, and I'm just gonna change the position to go from top to bottom so that it looks like we're whipping up to see the new cup. I also don't like this orange flare here, so I'm just gonna go down here and turn the opacity to 0. And already that's looking really nice. Cool, so now lastly, we're gonna add a little bit of a trick that I've shown you in some other tutorials. Go to the transform effect and add it onto the cup footage. Set your shutter angle to 180 degrees and uncheck use composition shutter angle, and then keyframe its position to start off screen and whip onto screen. And this will give the effect that the cup is actually coming up with us from the table when we whip up to the next shot. This is looking solid, so all there's left to do is add a motion array template to the background, change up the text, change up the background color, slap it on down underneath, and now our scene looks like this. So at this point in this behind the scenes tutorial, I realized it's gonna be kind of difficult not to make it super long. So I'm gonna show you one more scene here with the changing color effect, but let me know in the comments if there's any particular effect that we didn't cover that you'd like to see in a future video. So in preparation for this section, I took the previous animation that we did spinning the cup around twice, and I duplicated both of those clips 3 times. So now we have that same animation 3 times in a row. And I also animated it to come off from the right-hand side of the screen instead of from the bottom of the screen. Let's move it up a layer and let's place down a nice background and then place down some text in between the background and our mug. And this is the basic effect that we're starting with. But how do we actually create that liquid animation transition? It's going to be done using some motion array motion graphics. Let's search for the specific one that we want, and this is a really nice transition in my opinion. So I'm going to drag and drop that on top of all the other clips and set to frame size so that it appears to be the correct size. And then position it to start when you actually want the transition of color to start happening. Next is a really important part. You need to cut your clip into 2 sections so that one is completely underneath the animation. This is the one you're going to be adding a track matte to. Drag and drop it onto this covered clip, and then go into Effect Controls and target the layer that motion graphics element is on. For me, that's layer 5. And then click inverse, and what you're left with is the cup spinning around and then using that animation to disappear. And now if we take that same animation of the cup spinning around and just have a different color cup underneath of it, when we do this reveal, it's gonna reveal another color. And the best part is you don't have to do this with just the cup, you can also do this with the background and with the text. But now that you've seen the process of how this was actually created, let's go back and take a look again at the final result. Guys, I hope you liked this little behind the scenes look into how I created my version of the Motion Array Ad Challenge video, and that it's given you a little bit of inspiration for your own personal projects. You've still got way more than enough time to start and finish your own submission. Remember that the new extension is June 16th. If you wanted more information, I've left a link to our blog post down below, and it's got everything that you would need to know. Plus, I've also got a couple videos here that you can check out if you're more the visual type. But guys, that's it for me. I can't wait to see your awesome submissions. Good luck.